The battle for free speech and entertainment is on. 4chan taking it to the UK, filing a lawsuit inside the US of A. Today, we've got the attorney representing 4chan. Ron Coleman is here. He'll tell you why this is far bigger than just one company trying to defend their right to say what they want to say. No, this is about entertainment all across the US of A. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. It is a joy to have you here. And sometimes we talk about Star Wars. Sometimes we talk about Marvel. Sometimes we talk about Disney World. Today, we're talking about something that is big, 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 big. Folks, click the like button. Let's dive in with Ron Coleman, the attorney who is helping along with the Byrne firm for 4chan. Take a look at this. We have this. And Ron, how do we pronounce this one? Preston Byrne? How do we say it?
Byrne.
Byrne. Okay, well, a U would suffice then. Don't say that, though. I shouldn't say that. On behalf of our clients, 4chan and Kiwi Farms, the law firms of Byrne and Storm, and the Coleman Law Firm, I wonder whose that is, have today filed a federal lawsuit against the United Kingdom Office of Communications, also known as Ofcom, in D.C. federal court. Preston Byrne of Byrne and Storm, counsel for the plaintiff, said, American citizens do not surrender our constitutional rights just because Ofcom sends us an email. In the face of these unlawful foreign demands, our clients have bravely chosen to assert their constitutional rights. The United Kingdom Online Safety Act is a brazen attempt by a foreign country to hobble American competitiveness and suffocate American freedom by exporting the UK's censorship laws to our shores. If foreign countries feel like bullying Americans, that is their prerogative. The First Amendment bar is prepared to hail any foreign censor into federal court at any time to defend any American. Ron Coleman, I think I know that guy, that's you, says, with this action, our clients defend the free speech rights of every American. Foreign interference of the type seen in this case is precisely what the First Amendment is meant to protect against. We have asked the court to confirm that Ofcom has no authority to impose or enforce unconstitutional United Kingdom laws on American soil. And folks can see the filing right there. Ron, walk us through what you've been doing. The 4chan deal is becoming a big deal, and you may have to clarify, too, what the heck is Kiwi Farms?
Well, let me answer the second question first. Kiwi Farms is one of the most horrible websites on the internet, not counting, dark web stuff. It's basically it's a bulletin board, and they just trash people. They just destroy people. And internet figures who rise to the level of their attention have their own pages. And, I think it's all anonymous people. And it represents really the worst of anonymity, of the advantages of anonymity on the internet. But be that as it may, even if there might very well be an argument for censorship, but whatever that argument is, it's not going to be decided by the United Kingdom Office of Communications with respect to an American outlet, American website.
Walk us through the mechanics of this, because you're an expert here. We're not. We don't know how this engine runs. The United Kingdom government is going after a U.S. company. I didn't know, and many people out there might not have known, that you can sue or you can file a lawsuit against an agency within the United Kingdom or any other foreign government. How does that work?
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So there are a couple of things. One of them is that there are exceptions to the general rule of foreign sovereign immunity. And as judges love to say when providing no guidance to lawyers whatsoever, it's decided on a case-by-case basis. All things being equal, a sovereign instrumentality, it's called, is usually treated the same way as a sovereign itself and is immune from suit. But there are exceptions, and we have drafted the complaint in a way that we hope will qualify for one of those exceptions. But there are procedural issues here. The first two counts that we've asked the court to address involve service or process. They purported to serve Kiwi Farms and 4chan by sending emails to people. Now, under U.S. law, that does not constitute service sufficient to bring them into the jurisdiction of any court. Now, of course, regulatory authorities of a foreign country may well say, well, we don't purport to be bringing you into, you don't have to follow Rule 4 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, which governs service and process, because we're not trying to sue you. We're just imposing a fine on you. Oh, that's all you're doing? You're just imposing a fine on me?
Right. Well, fine then. That's okay. Good then. Just a fine. Ron, so this seems to me to be broader, though, than just 4chan. And the reason for that is if this works, if the United Kingdom gets away with this one, and people can say, well, I don't like 4chan or I don't like Kiwi or whatever, I don't care, okay? Yeah. That's superfluous at the moment, because what we're looking at is, would this have a stifling effect? Would this have a dampening, silencing impact on the other social media platforms out there? And even like YouTube, for example, you would see, I think, some of these companies decide, well, we preemptively want to do whatever it is that helps us stay in the United Kingdom without being in trouble. So I actually think this is a major entertainment and First Amendment issue that you're taking on. Do you see it that way?
I absolutely do, and so does my partner in constitutional liberty, Preston Byrne. It is a very common strategy in this kind of situation to go after the weakest and least supported parties. And that's why during the dark days of online censorship, the Twitter bannings and all that sort of thing, they would ban people who no respectable person would want to defend. And what was remarkable was just how sort of shameless the conservative, I mean, it was overwhelmingly conservatives, sometimes very far right conservatives, but it was shameless how little support people like Gavin McInnes and Laura Loomer, both of whom I represented in those days, got from major outlets like, National Review or Ben Shapiro. It wasn't their problem. Once you knock off the stragglers, once you get these weak and unsupported sites that nobody wants to defend, the next thing you do is, as you said, first of all, you make a great point that I hadn't even really thought of, Pro, which is the more substantial sites and platforms will act proactively to avoid the ire of censors. And that's what we call a chilling effect. But also what happens is the regulators go to these sites and say, so far, we've taken down Gab, we've taken down, we also represented, and it was a client of Preston's, although they're not involved in this lawsuit. We take down Gab, we take down 4chan, we take down all the sites that nobody likes, and you're next. And they ratchet it up little by little until they're really managing the entire food chain. It's important to understand that again, the UK authorities here are not claiming to be proceeding under American law. They're claiming to have authority over American companies, though, that they would enforce under UK law.
And that's not even if the company is acting within the UK. It's simply that their data is being transmitted all over the world, and the UK happens to be part of. I don't know if you guys have heard this. It's part of this thing that we call the world.
Right. Well, there was a time when the whole world was they said this never said in the British Empire. That time, however, has long passed, and it is offensive to American law and policy and the United States Constitution to suggest that American companies can be sanctioned by foreign governments with respect to their American activities. Now, if you want to go and open up a a business in the UK, or set up servers in the UK, or even sell stuff in the UK, then you're bringing yourself into their orbit. That makes sense. What these sites have done to is make themselves unavailable to UK users, not because they want to, but because they don't see what choice they have. We're trying to get them out of a situation where that has to happen, where that can happen. Because, I mean, listen, we're very close to a world where our NATO allies, where Western Europe, is going to be governed by Islamic republics very soon.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think large swaths of Europe. You're exactly right. Of course, that's what NATO is. But Ron, I want to ask you one more question, and I know you've got more to say. Work that into the answer if you don't mind, and then I want to hand it to Lauren, because Lauren is very interested in this particular topic. I consider Lauren to be quite the genius, and so I'd love to hear what his question is to you. But Ron, I guess what I would say for my last Q&A on this is, where does this go next? What do you anticipate to be the response?
We have 90 days to serve Ofcom, which gives us a lot of time to see if it will be necessary even to serve them. So the difference between suing someone and serving them is very substantial, right? Suing someone is just filing papers in a court. When you serve them, you at least purport to bring them into the jurisdiction of the court. There are procedures for serving an international defendant or a government or a government instrumentality, and we are going to probably give them a chance to come to their senses if they can do that without having to employ. I mean, lawyers are beginning to line up to volunteer time and resources to help us out on this. And if this ends up getting snatched away from me by a large law firm, I won't cry, frankly. I'm just a simple city lawyer. I don't
thought you were going to say a simple country lawyer for a minute.
I don't really have the resources to do this on my own. If it comes to that, but we've got time. We understand, and there have been noises out of the White House that they're concerned about this issue in general, not necessarily about our clients as such. I do think that we consider this to be, well, first of all, it's a bona fide lawsuit, but we also consider it to be a way of getting more attention paid to a problem that I've actually been writing about for a long, long time, which is, foreign governments. We talk a lot again during the darkest days of censorship on social media. We talked about the government outsourcing censorship to private companies. What if foreign governments now, are the ones? The Constitution is not written to protect us against foreign governments, because no one ever dreamt that would be necessary. We're in a new space now, and what this lawsuit is, to a large extent, our effort to put into the public sphere the question of what will our government do to protect the liberty of its citizens against, because after all, we're talking about the UK here. Supposedly the country, not Canada, which is, a state, supposedly the country that is most like the United States, whose values traditionally align with ours, et cetera, et cetera. It's the mother country and all that sort of thing. What's going to happen when Iran decides what we can have on the internet, and when Pakistan, which already pretty much runs the internet?
Right. Well, let me get Lauren in on his thoughts of this. Lauren, what would you like to add to the conversation?
Hey, Lauren, how you doing?
Good. And you actually touched on a lot of kind of what I've been thinking, and I think you sort of confirmed some of what I've been thinking. So I'm gonna phrase it a slightly different way, coming from a technical side. My analysis of what's been going on here has been, as you said, the First Amendment is to protect us against government imposition of our speech. That's not what's happening here. What's happening is a foreign government is targeting the soft underbelly of tech, because tech wants to operate on a global basis. And it is very difficult to try and create different mechanisms to both determine what is the age of the person that is viewing something and where are they coming from. And so what they're trying to do is broadly suggest that we're going to impose a fine on you because you're operating within our jurisdiction. Doesn't really matter where you're based. And because they want to avoid having to create multiple different mechanisms to satisfy every different jurisdiction, it's much easier for them to just capitulate and say, fine, we'll just have a blanket policy for everybody. So it seems to me the way that you combat this has to be at the federal level with something like a tariff to say, all right, if you don't like what we're doing with speech, perhaps we'll hit you at your uncomfortable underbelly and see how you like it.
Lauren, this is never going to work. The current administration is not in favor of tariffs. We've been over this 15 times on the channel.
That's a policy question that is above my pay grade, which is not a particularly difficult place to find yourself. But there are all kinds. Listen, the United States is the global hegemon. There are lots of things we can do. And Lauren, to some extent, I think there was a little bit of that that was already deployed with Canada.
Mm-hmm.
There are all kinds of diplomatic solutions, and I think, I don't think it is going to be a particularly humiliating thing for the Europeans, and especially the feckless UK government, to climb down a bit and say, all right, listen, we really can't control foreign actors. If there's going to be censorship in our country, we'll have to impose it here, and there are technical means for them to do that. But to make it the problem of American companies to conform, and Lauren, I was waiting for you to say magic words. In order to ultimately comply with all the different regimes' preferences, you end up having the least common denominator of offensiveness and of content, and you basically end up with USA Today or something. And that's not what people come to the internet for.
Right, and I would add here as well that I agree with you that I think they are going to have to come down on it, but I think the primary element of this is they're just seeing how far can we push this. This is a bit of a test cast to see how far can we go, how much pressure can we exert before we get pushback that we can't fend off.
Well, so now, guys, I got an idea, because Trump has floated this Greenland deal, right, where we're going to get Greenland. I've got an idea how we solve this thing. We take over the Falkland Islands, and then Trump threatens, if you don't do what we need, they're going to become the 4chan Islands. Deal with that, England. That'll be a great situation for you. Panel, anybody else want to hop in on this one? You're welcome to ask Ron any questions you have.
I want to introduce myself to Kevin Apollo, whom I don't think I have met before. Kevin, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you. I'm really glad to be here when you're on. Big fan.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
I love how you mentioned, I believe in the lawsuit actually, that I think X was a victim of this at one point. I believe the green streaming platform that we can't talk about was also a victim of this kind of censorship from these various territories, especially in Europe and so forth. What's to stop Europe from just saying, you know what, this is like another import, right? If you want to go ahead and import, export a car or whatever, and we don't allow those to be sold in here. It's just tough. What would you say to that, and how this is maybe different than that?
Culture, you seem like you're straining at the bit there.
No. I was going to ask you a question too, and then I was going to interrupt Vash and be rude. I don't want to be rude.
But in all fairness, Culture was going to ask a question related to something completely different that he didn't want to have to pay an attorney's bill for. He just knows you're on the spot here.
Well, I think I'm basically seeing, like looking at the chat, they're having a completely different conversation there. So why not?
They want to talk about Northern Ireland. That's what I see out there. They want to talk about Northern Ireland and all.
I want to go broader in Europe, like Vash was doing, because I think there is the distinct chance that we're going to have to maybe determine, is it a possibility we use trade deals as a leverage point for free speech?
It is, but look, if I were making the policy, okay, notwithstanding what I said before about my pay grade, I've never been shy about exceeding my pay grade, actually, right. When it comes to suggestions. I would try to keep it away from that. I don't like that, because I think American policy needs to be that free speech in America is non-negotiable. It's not something we're going to trade like Hondas and Cadillacs. It's not a commodity. It is the foundation, for better or for worse. I mean, we there are, every time I want to say there are costs that we bear for having this absolute free-for-all with free expression. Then I look at what's going on in the UK, and what a shit show. I mean, how could, and Australia, I mean, these are countries that in a very short time have taken such an incredible U-turn on free expression. So, I don't really think there's any other way to do it. So, I mean, I can see why that would be a temptation, but I think that as the hegemon, we ought to be doctrinaire about this. And again, you can set up whatever firewalls. If you want to be North Korea and prevent your people from getting stuff accepted that you approve of, then do it that way, okay? But don't tell our businesses how to conduct their affairs. That's the attitude, or that's the approach I think we should be.
Kevin, hop in here and tell Ron about the campaign you've been doing, sending small battle axes to kids in Scotland.
I don't think we can talk about that on YouTube.
He meant, of course, rubber play battle axes.
That's right.
I'm already on enough list as it is. I was going to say, I think that the United States taking our free speech is the non-negotiable is the actual firewall. When you look at what's going on all across Europe, it seems like there's just intent to become as dystopian as humanly possible, as fast as possible. And we saw the seeds of this being planted long before what happened during the dark times. You see these small, like you said, these small, tiny attacks. It's well, we're going to debank here, or you're not allowed to do this here, or this content's banned here, or we only put out content that speaks to these people here. It's almost like it's a death by 1,000 cuts. And what I love about what you're doing here is, frankly, you're one of the few brazen voices saying no. There's got to be you got to stop. There's a line that we're not going to cross. So so thank you for what you're doing, because
you're welcome. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, Lauren, I spent a good 2.5 hours discussing this about 2 weeks ago, and it's incredible. The thing that frustrates me is that I wish that especially in the States here, I wish more leaders would stand up and be unafraid to say, hey, no, free speech is a non-negotiable. You guys have to get on board with us, because frankly, although we're the only place that has it enshrined, on the founding documents, but if you can't speak freely, you can't. There's no such thing as growth. There's no such thing as perspective. It's the ultimate power grab.
100%. It really goes to so much, and I mean, really, there's even an argument to some extent. I think this is something that Preston really wanted to get across in the complaint. This is an attack not just on our values, our culture, values of free speech, but it's an economic and competitiveness attack. This is what we do. This is why America is what it is. Again, plus, minus, and in between. That freedom, that creativity, that flexibility, if you're going to choke it off on your shoreline. Leave our guys out of it.
Ron, there's a political thought that's out in the chat. I want to bring this up without putting up the actual message, because I had never considered this before, and I don't know what you'll say about it. It's a little bit out of left field for me. People are talking about the idea that the Queen passed. Yeah, and that all of a sudden, you know, the what would you say, the hinges are off the gate in terms of making these kind of woke policies. And I just, you know, I kind of think about the United States and how close we were to being this same exact thing, and we diverged. And, you know, it's kind of a precarious thing, this free speech thing, man. You got to defend it worldwide.
You know, it really is as I say, a very near thing. It is astonishing how bad it got. Just only a year ago, only 9 months ago, we were being ruled by a clique of people who really had no regard for free speech whatsoever, and who were pretending it was a weekend at Bernie's presidency. Okay, and I mean, I'm not sure I see the parallel there, except in the sense that, yeah, you need leaders who are absolutely bought in on these values in order for them to succeed. And I can't, notwithstanding my frustrations with so much of what he has done and what he hasn't done. You think I'm about to talk about Donald Trump, talk about Elon Musk. If it weren't for Elon Musk,
yep,
we would be having a very different conversation. His purchase of Twitter
changed the ball game.
Changed everything.
That's right.
Go
ahead, Lauren.
I think there's another point here that I think is worth mentioning as well. It's not just your leaders. The American experiment has revealed over time that we are a particularly rebellious people. Mm-hmm. And that's something that is lacking a little bit in Europe. It's like we really do not like being told what to do. We can rise up pretty quickly.
I'm having trouble hearing you, Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren is essentially saying that Western Europeans have turned into lemmings, and he doesn't like it very much. And I tend to agree with him. Guys, I'll say this too, and Lauren, I know that's frustrating on the audio issue. We're going to get that fixed real soon. As we get ready to wrap up, because Ron, your time is very valuable, and we don't want to take more of it. I know. Listen, you're trying to save the free world, Ron, okay? Listen up.
With one of my typical saving the free world with my pro bono value.
That's right.
We can't afford a whole hour, so we got to go.
That's why I have to make it back on the backs of pro and
Well, who knows who's out there lurking, waiting to try to come at us again, and there Ron Coleman will be.
That's right.
But here's the deal. I don't want to make too much light of this, because it's easy in America for us to kind of josh around about this, to be jovial, and yet we will see people legitimately in the chat who say, "Thank you for talking about this. I live in England, and I can't stream about this. I can't talk about this online. You guys have to be our voices, because we can watch you, but we can't participate with you."
It's like being in Harvard.
That's right. It is like being in Harvard or some of these other places that in the Ivy Leagues where free speech is verboten. All right. Well, Ron, any final thoughts on this one before we wrap the segment up, sir?
Thank you for the opportunity to clarify my own thoughts by answering these questions.
It's a joy, Ron. It's a joy. Vash,
and
do we have any?
The world, this project is really Preston Burns. Okay, he decided this had to happen. He represents. Well, this is what he does. He's in this space. He represents Gab and other unpopular websites, and he does not endorse anything about them except their right to do what they do. And he was, he was contacting First Amendment litigators, and whether I was the first call or the 10th call, I don't know. But as soon as he asked me, it was obvious that I had to do this.
Well, you were the right call. And it is time to put a bow on it, for this one, folks, is a gift to everybody who wants to know exactly what's going on in the entertainment industry. And we are so joyful that you were there to receive it. We hope that you had a great time. An attitude of gratitude on this channel every single time you decide to spend time with us. As we get ready to say goodbye, we only ask a few simple things. Click that like button, share, subscribe, click it, and stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. And folks, as you get ready to head out that door, do you have a place on social media that you love to share this sort of thing? Hey, you can make this YouTube video sing by putting it out there for your friends, your family, and for those weirdos who just won't leave you alone. Folks, until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Jump into the water! Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today. 3 days of